Well, speaking of grinding, that's a great transition because we've passed over one of the major points of this game, and I want to make sure we cover it. The All Trades Abbey.
Hmm.
Let's talk about this because we talked about classes earlier. What about changing classes mid game?
Yeah, I love going in All Trades Abbey for. Well, no, it's called the Dharma
Oh,
for this
Dharma.
game.
You're, oh my God. They're going to kill me for that. It is the Dharma. Yeah, I'm used to calling
First
it
off,
All
I love
Trades.
the connection that I guess it would be in Asia, like in kind of like Mongolia, Russia kind of area in the world map there, or maybe it's America. I don't know. What do I know? But I love that it's called Dharma after kind of like Buddhist principle of like understanding suffering and struggle, and in the sense that you suffer because your character returns to level 1,
Yep. Start
but you
over.
get the added benefit of your your you will maintain all skills that your character has learned if they're like a mage or something,
Yeah.
and all stats will be cut in half, which if they started at level 1 they were probably shit to begin with, so having them at half is actually not a bad deal.
No, no. I mean, it encourages you to do it, which is cool. And I probably should have done it for one of my characters, but I didn't. But, and you did, so good for you.
I did that later in the game though, and way later, like by the time I was at the end. When I first got here and I had managed to get around level 20 for all my characters, I picked two and I switched them. I made my mage a sage, and I made um, my fighter a warrior.
Yeah, and I did that too.
It was weird picking which one to make a sage because um, they learn a bunch of spells anyway. So to make a mage a sage was actually not that necessary. If I could have done this over, I wouldn't have even picked a mage.
To begin with?
Yes, because the HP on my sage was terrible. He'd always be the first one to go. He had a
Hmm.
wicked MP stat and like a lot of good spells, but it would have been more beneficial to have like. Honestly, I want to try the game with a dealer or with a thief and pick one. The thief is not that beneficial, but
When I see a character like the thief in one of these games, I assume it's going to be way too technical for me to use. Like you got to put him to sleep, and then you can hit like backstab. I don't know that for a fact. That's how it works, but God, I don't
yeah,
like dealing with
you
that shit.
like the poison dagger and the assassin dagger, but they just don't have that many skills aside from like being able to steal items from enemies every so often, and like that just kind of happens naturally, and they're really agile and you can go undetected. So if you're trying to avoid random battles for a while, there's no like repels or anything, so you can't just avoid monsters.
Yeah.
So the thief is beneficial on that end. The dealer, I thought, like only after I played the game did I learn this. You could like set up tent with the dealer as you're on the world map, so you could get items as you need them,
Oh, that's cool.
and like stay at an inn. You could call the deal like the inn to come to you.
That's legit.
And so I underestimated the dealer class.
Well, after seeing Bart, I wasn't gonna hire any dealer. It's so corrupt.
Yeah.
Um, in the you mentioned the sage. That one's unique because you can only upgrade it with that book,
Or
or if you got a
you could,
jester to level 20. But you
yeah.
had to get the jester to level 20, which actually, I mean, late game, probably pretty doable.
Yeah.
Early
Yeah, sure.
game,
You could just
hell no.
recruit a jester and do that, but the sage is really not going to save you that much by the end.
No, I didn't actually find the sage to be in later versions of the game. The sage is like top tier, like huge
Yeah.
deal. Like in 7, I remember like a sage is about as good as you can get. Um, I didn't really feel that in this one, although I like the
No.
the expanded move list. Um, the
Yeah.
stats themselves were pretty low.
You're better off having a cleric with like Kazing, like the full revive ability.
Yeah.
That was a really helpful spell to have.
And with that, it's worth talking about the personalities. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when you tie into these different classes, you're actually supposed to match their personality to get the most out of it, which adds quite a wrinkle to the leveling up progression system that you were trying to achieve. which
Sure.
again pushes this way beyond like what Final Fantasy did. And this isn't a shot at Final Fantasy. That was the first attempt, and they're all growing right now. But this makes it so much more complicated and interesting. And you find these books along the way that you can change your personalities and adjust. And
Yeah.
and
Where
you
do you find those books too?
in the bookshelves.
Right. So like I love that about this game is that like, not only do you want to talk with everyone, you want to interact with everything because there's these bookshelves with books that change your personalities to get maybe special books to help you to grow your class. Like, to become a sage, you need a Zen book. So you'd have to look on the bookshelves. But then like with the personality max like stats,
Yeah.
it completely alters like, depending on if you pick a smart book, you're going to have a smart character for like a mage or a sage or a cleric, and that's perfect because you don't need strength for them. But like there's other ones where it's maybe a luck stat or something, and sometimes even if you just like look in a mirror, it screws you up. Like it'll change your personality to vain, or if you put like on bunny ears, suddenly you're a lucky character who has sucky attack, and it's like, oh shit, like every little thing counts.
Yeah. But there's how you raise your. Okay, so if you mentioned that you were like a Pokemon guy.
Yeah,
Um,
this is Pokemon before Pokemon, like the advanced Pokemons before them.
yeah. I mean, this would be equivalent to probably the what do you call it, mating thing, where you get an egg or children thing.
They didn't do this in Pokemon until Gen 3, where you had natures. And so your
Oh,
personality would be the equivalent of a nature. And surprisingly, there are like as many in this as there are then, which is like 15, 20 years later.
wow, that's good to know. Because that's what people that play. One of the reasons, and this again, you mentioned we should tie into that 2006 article making it number 3 of favorite games of all time. There
Yeah.
is a group of people very dedicated to this game that like to min max to the umpteenth degree. And
Yeah.
what they do is they get a character, they give him, they give him a certain, they like a warrior or something. They give him the strength stat or they give him the agility stat, whatever stat they want him to be good at. They give him the book that gives him the most of that stat.
Hmm.
Raise him as high as they can get him. Class change him to the next character that they want him to be. Give that character the new book and make sure that that stat goes all the way up because every time it gets halved, but sometimes it can get halved from already incredibly high heights, and that's how they
Right.
make the perfect party. Um,
Hmm.
those people have a lot of time on their hands, and they're not me. But that is why the battle system and the party system is so complex in this game that it's beyond probably most Dragon Quests, honestly, in terms of
I'll tell
complexity.
you what, though, if you take that hour or two to do that, you're going to save yourself 2 to 3 hours of grinding.
Yeah, yeah. If you take the hour to do like one or two, maybe. uh,
Yeah, I mean, but it's really just an awesome system to invest yourself in. Those of you playing this game for the first time or second time, whatever, I highly encourage you to just look at the personality guys. I would like go back and like confirm these are all the books I have in my inventory right now. It's not that I was going hunting books, like I'm not like a book fiend, or whatever. I do read books, but I'm not that that into this. But I would just say like I have like a smart book, a brave book, and a Zen book, and this is my character. This is what their stats are. Which one is going to give me the net positive rate for what I need it to for like vitality and for strength? And then I would pick that, and then I would use that for a while until I got more books. And I would just, it's not that I would sink hours into it, but like I would be aware of it as I was playing, and it did lead me to have a really good team.
yeah, this definitely is the way to go. And there's a really great guide. It's dragonquest.org wiki. They have a personality types thing in here, and they tell you which books to use to get the result you want. I mean, you got an Amazon here. Its strength is at 130%. Um,
Yeah.
looks like Bat Out of Hell is the good one for getting your agility up. It's 100% for everything except for agility. It's 140% growth. So that's just
Mm.
representing how your stats grow. Um, it
Some of those books will be in the negative percentile though, and some of them will just be at a flat.
absolutely. There's one called Mule, and it makes you stubborn, and it's negative 90% stat growth.
Yeah. If you're not aware of it at all of the stat changes, it could make this game a very hard time for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Ironically, Wimp. which makes you cowardly, is only negative 10% stat bonus. You'd think something like that would be a real game changer, but doesn't seem so bad. But it also affects how fast you learn abilities, which matters to the characters that learn abilities. So that's an important one. I think that's the wisdom stat. Helps you learn things faster. So
I think everything has a preordained level based on what character you are. If you're a sage or something, there's a guide for that, like when you will get certain skills.
um, I thought that the higher intelligence made you learn them faster. Are you sure? Are you sure?
That wasn't in my experience, no, because I purposely got my cleric to level 37 because it would get revive at that level.
Um, maybe that's the case, and I misread. Yeah, that could easily be the case, and maybe I just misread the stat.
List of spells in Dragon Quest 3. Frizz, Hero level 2, Mage level 1, Sage level 1. There's a whole list of these, and it tells you the level you get it at.
Gotcha. Okay, scratch that one. Ignore that. But yeah, the personalities are super, super important. So don't neglect them if you're playing them.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah, even if you don't have to go crazy on it, but like trust me, like once you start looking at it, you're gonna look at your books that you have that you've collected and go like, which one can I put on my hero? You know, and it is kind of fun. So.
Yeah, and it kind of I mean, it doesn't really, but it's kind of fun to know that your character's like a jerk or an Amazon or a wimp.
Yeah,
Because there's not really much else character.